course, if Rishi can remove his head from his bum, because apparently, according to this article, made a bet. And that bet he thinks he's going to win. But personally, I don't think he's got any chance at all. He's apparently made a bet, or Piers Morgan rather, has apparently made a bet with Rishi. And what's that all about? Well, Rishi obviously lives at the moment in 10 Downing Street, but I personally think he lives in Clan Cuckoo Land if he thinks he's going to be able to win this. He accepted a £1,000 bet from Piers Morgan that deportation flights to Rwanda will be up and running before the next election. The Prime Minister apparently was confronted by the Talk TV host, who told him, "I'll bet you £1,000 to a refugee charity that you don't get anybody on those planes before the election. Will you take that bet?" To which the PM apparently shook hands with Piers to seal the deal and stress he is working incredibly hard to get the people on the planes. And don't get me wrong, if people come here illegally from the safe country of France, well, they're saying they're claiming war, whatever other crap they come out with, whilst at the same time accidentally losing their phones in the sea or any other ID documents, then yes, of course, they should either be turned back around to France, or of course be deported to a safe third country while their application is processed, which obviously is the Rwanda plan. The thing is, though, Rishi did have the choice, presumably, of just accepting the amendments that a few MPs put in to toughen up the Rwanda bill. But of course he didn't, did he? And he just let MPs have a vote on it. Presumably knowing, I should say, that Labour would vote against these amendments, and therefore they'd stand no chance of going through. So it doesn't really make much sense to me that he thinks that the Rwanda flights will take off. Presumably, of course, he thinks the current bill is tough enough, but I'll tell you this, Richie, it more than likely isn't. I mean, apparently there is a general thing that says that Rwanda is a safe country. However, they are apparently, from what I've heard, able to say, well, yes, Rwanda is a safe country, but it's not safe for me because, and then give their reasons to appeal why they can't go there, which, let's face it, loads of them are going to do, aren't they? And so what's Rishi done about that? Well, of course, from what I remember, he said he was going to free up more judges or create more judges or whatever to look over these appeals. But the thing is, he shouldn't be doing that, should he? He should, in my opinion, have just said, no, I'm sorry, you go in there. When you hear our decision, then we'll take it from there. But until then, if you want to come to asylum in the UK, you have to be deported here first. Because that is a deterrent for people who come over here illegally. And let's face it, remember, this at the end of the day, crossing the channel from the safe country of France is, well, illegal, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, if someone wants to live here, then they should fill out the proper forms and go through our points-based system. And unfortunately, this is just making a mockery of it altogether, isn't it? People coming over here illegally and just getting to stay. When at the end of the day, if we don't know anything about them, they could have quite a few criminal records that we wouldn't know about, and therefore may in some cases be quite a risk to the public, all depending on what crimes they may or may not have committed. But either way, Rishi also said the Rwanda plan is part of an overall plan that is working. Well, doesn't that just fill you with confidence, eh? Doesn't me, unfortunately. The hour-long sit-down for Talk TV was filmed at 10 Downing Street, or Cloud Cuckoo Land, as I said earlier. Piers slammed the Rwanda scheme as he argued the issue of illegal migration seems massively more problematic. He said, "Do you think that should be the priority when at the same time the ONS just predicted that we could hit 73 million people who are in this country coming in not on boats but coming in the normal immigration system by 2036. But wait for this, because the PM insisted that illegal migrants will stop coming in as a result of the Rwanda policy. Well, to be honest with you, Rishi, if they don't, and if your plan doesn't work, which let's face it, by not accepting those amendments put in by MPs, and of course shackling us to the EU via the Windsor Framework deal a little while ago with Northern Ireland, then I guess, if anything, your time of Prime Minister will be over, because if you're anything like a Brexiteer like I am, you do not want to be shackled to the EU. I mean, that's why we voted to leave it in the first place. And to any Ramonas out there, or keyboard warriors out there, who are now calling me all the hunts under the sun, I would just like to remind you that 17.4 million people voted for it at the end of the day. And I'm sorry, whether you like it or not, we live in a democracy. So that vote should have been respected. Although, if anything, it does seem the government has tried to be doing their best overall to water it down, it seems, doesn't it? And this whole Windsor framework is just the latest attempt to keep us in the EU and all by name, in my opinion. Unfortunately, no, who knows what Labour will do when they get in. I can guess a few things, but we'll just have to wait and see. So why, if anything, is Rishi so confident that this is going to work? Well, he said that people talk to me a lot about illegal migration, as I'm sure they talk to you about it. It's important that we get a grip on it, and Rwanda is one part of an overall plan that is working. And as you say, you are scratching your head. Albania is an example of why it is working. We created a new returns agreement with Albania, and it meant that if people came here illegally, we could send them back. And you know what? They stopped coming. Rwanda will do the same thing for us. Well, Rishi, that in my opinion is slightly different because they're Albanian people coming from Albania and you're sending them back to Albania from what I've heard. This is slightly different because they're coming from France, or the safe country of France, and you're sending them to Rwanda. So a lot of lefty lawyers out there bound to have a problem with that, aren't they? Piers Morgan even said that I do not think it's going to work for you, to which Rishi replied, okay, well, we'll just have to agree to disagree. Just like I'm guessing a lot of your voters will do, Rishi.